Another homeless training session. Today we are joined by the YWCA. Autumn McCully and Karen Shivers are going to be talking with us today about domestic violence. Welcome, Autumn and Karen.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you all are aware, but April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so have included in some of our slides some sexual assault awareness information. So, as Carl said, I'm Autumn McCully. I am the Vice President of Empowerment Services, and I have my amazing colleague, Karen Shivers, who is our Senior Director of Clinical Services with us. So we are going to, in Tiffany's absence, talk a little bit about the services at the YWCA.
Yeah, definitely appreciate this opportunity. Domestic violence refers to violence between an aggressor and a victim when they reside together. That's a big thing about the population that we serve is they need to be residing together, whether they are intimate partners or family members. So IPV is intimate partner violence, meaning that at some point, whether recently or historically, the two parties involved would have had either a romantic or sexual relationship. For our services with regards to the safe shelter aspect, the two parties need to have resided together, again, either as intimate partners or as family members. There have been times where maybe a young adult still living in the parent's home, maybe the parent still wants to control all of their money and control how they use their disability check, if that's something that they receive, or their food stamps, things like that. So we have had situations in which family members were the ones who were the domestic violence relationship. So not just intimate partner, but also family members as well.
Karen, what happens if someone is arrested? Does that allow someone to still go into safe shelter if the perpetrator is arrested?
Absolutely, because we realize that just because they were arrested at the scene, that doesn't mean that they're going to stay detained for a while. And I appreciate our domestic violence team, because I don't know for who all knows, I think Carl, you know that for all of the domestic violence calls that happen in our county, we get all those police reports. And so even if someone doesn't come in for safe shelter, our domestic violence team will reach out generally within a couple business days to ensure that the person is still safe. Is everything okay? What other services can they help with? Because maybe in the moment the person didn't come in for safe shelter because the offender was arrested, but that doesn't mean they'll remain incarcerated for long. So we always want to make sure that we're reaching out to connect with people to ensure, one, are they still safe in their residence? And if they're not, then let's talk about them coming in. And even if they are safe, is there another way that we can help them, either with counseling, with a protective order, with some case management support, or some DV support groups, because we still want to be able to provide services even if they don't come in for the safe shelter aspect. So thank you for that question, Carl. Physical abuse is generally what everyone thinks of, whether it's punching, slapping, hitting, kicking, all of that. But there is so much more than just the physical aspects. There can be the emotional, the manipulation, the name calling, the threats, financial aspects, which may be that while I'm employed, I don't have any access to my finances because my partner is the one that says how I can spend my money or controls all of my money. Or maybe they come up to my job and harass me so much at my job that I lose my job, because then I'm going to be reliant on them because I won't have my own financial stream. Maybe it's about my legal status, or maybe they're threatening to call DCS on me, even though there's no problems within my household, but maybe they're threatening to call my probation officer and tell them I'm doing something that I'm not doing. The reproductive aspect of domestic violence, maybe I'm not allowed to take birth control, or I'm not allowed to get my tubes tied or participate in anything for my own physical health. And so oftentimes there's not necessarily a lot of prenatal care in some circumstances, because the more exposure that I may have to other service providers when my abuser isn't present, the more likely I might be able to get some type of support and assistance and resources. Reactive abuse is when someone finally fights back. And unfortunately, we see a lot of times where finally the victim fights back physically, and then the offender, the abuser who's been abusive for weeks and months and years, now calls the police. And then the victim gets arrested because they never called the police. And now that the one time they fought back, they're getting arrested. That is definitely a heartbreaking thing to have to experience with some of our clients. The religious or spiritual aspect, it might be, well, the Bible said that we can't get a divorce, or my spiritual family says that we can't get a divorce and we just have to pray through it all. That can definitely be a big challenge for some people, especially if their religious family or religious community is their biggest form of support. And if that family is encouraging someone to stay through the abuse. Sexual assault or abuse, of course, forcing someone to engage in sexual activity, or maybe even speaking to them in a sexually suggestive way, that's not welcome. And then, of course, stalking as well as another form. Some red flags of domestic violence with regards to the abuser's behavior. Being dominating or controlling of actions and choices and behaviors, whether it's where I can go and who I can talk to, what clothes I can wear, again, how I can spend my money, or even if I have access to money. Abusers are generally quick to anger and often aggressive, yet that's most often just within that relationship. So probably out in the community, they're very charming, they're very well liked. That allows them to be very manipulative of the situation, because if I'm the only one experiencing my abuser's abuse and the anger, who else is going to believe me? They could be very well known in the community, and everyone appreciates them and thinks that they're so wonderful. So don't I sound like the crazy one if I'm the only one that doesn't have that experience? Again, as I mentioned earlier, coercing people into unwanted sexual activity, blaming the victim for the abuse. Well, I wouldn't do that if you didn't do this. Or it's because you make me do this, because you don't listen or you don't comply in whatever capacity. Overwhelming jealousy and possessiveness, which probably initially in the relationship seems like they're very interested, and lots of love bombing, and they're very, and I feel special and important in the beginning because they always want to be with me, or they always want to spend time with me, and they always text me and they always talk to me. But eventually that is really just turning into the overwhelming jealousy and possessiveness. Of course, engaging in physical violence, hitting, shoving, punching, kicking, biting, all of that. And then destroying personal property, showing violent outbursts, harming animals. That's a big one. In the last few months, we've had way too many people that circumstances were either threatening to harm animals or intentionally harming animals. And for a lot of our people, their animal might be their one source of comfort, their one source of love and affection. And it's very sad to see animals being abused for the sake of trying to control another person. Things that you might see from the person that is experiencing the domestic violence or abuse is repeated unexplained injuries or marks, making excuses for the person's behavior. Oh, well, they just had a bad week. They just had a bad month. They just had a bad situation. Oh, something happened at work. Just always defending and minimizing the actual nature of what's really happening within the household. The domestic violence survivor may also be acting fearful or overly cautious around them, kind of always walking on eggshells, kind of making sure that they figure out what to say to the person before they say it to them because they don't want to set them off. Often canceling plans and avoiding communication because one of the aspects of domestic violence is isolating the victim from all forms and sources of support and resources. So yeah, my abuser may say that, yeah, I can go out, but maybe I just know that they're going to blow up my phone the entire time that I'm out with my friends. And I don't even want to deal with that. So I might even just cancel the plans because I don't even want to deal with that. I really want to have that girls' night out, but I know that my abuser is just going to blow up my phone the entire time and I won't be able to even enjoy that that evening. So I may just choose to avoid those type of social plans altogether. Constantly needing to check in or ask for permission for basic tasks, whether it's spending money or going somewhere, talking to someone, how I dress, what I do with the kids, where we go. Also showing some personality shifts, being more submissive or more sad and isolated and withdrawing from activities. And then also believing they deserve the mistreatment and or feeling helpless about it. There's a lot of shame and guilt within experiencing the domestic violence. And so it's sadly very easy to stay because that seems in the moment like the easiest option. So one thing, as Autumn mentioned earlier, April is Sexual Violence Awareness Month or Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so I very much appreciate this slide that Tiffany included for us, which is what people think rape is, which is being forced to have sex by a stranger. That's what people often think. But what is it really? It's more often, first off, not a stranger. It's almost always someone that you know, whether it's casually or more seriously. But being forced to have sex, feeling like you don't have the ability to say no, you're too scared to say no, being talked into it when you don't feel like it, when you've already said no, when you've already declined the advances and that continued pressure. Already knowing that it's easier to just kind of go with the flow because they're going to be horribly moody and rude and nasty if I don't just go ahead and say yes. Being threatened that someone will leave the relationship. Well, I'll just go find somebody else that'll do the things that I want to do. So just feeling like you have to engage in sexual activity to make your partner happy and for them not to leave. Again, being forced when you have already said no, made to feel guilty until you give in, again, threatening that they'll leave you, and then also being ridiculed or belittled until you just finally decide to give in, because it's just easier just to go with it than to actually set the boundaries and decide and choose not to engage in that activity. Pregnancy and domestic violence. I acknowledged a little earlier that a lot of times women are less likely to receive prenatal care and or maybe delays in getting that prenatal care, maybe not always showing up for the appointments, because again, if the abuser is not able to be in that appointment to control what's being said or what's being discussed or talked about, the person could be getting additional support and resources and actually start making plans to leave the situation. Pregnant teens are at a higher risk for domestic violence than adults. More than 250,000 pregnant women have been battered by their partners every year in the United States. And then also, sadly, homicide by an intimate partner is the leading cause of death among pregnant women in the United States. So our purpose and intention for our community is to strengthen the community against violence and aggression. We provide immediate safety, lasting stability, independence, empowerment, transformation for all. And we very much try to be a source of hope for people, whether they're ready to leave the situation now, or whether it's just planting those seeds in hopes that at some point in the future, they will be able to leave. We want to provide as much exposure as we can to our resources and how we can help people. So again, even if they're not ready to leave now, maybe one day they will be. So our programs, definitely our domestic violence program, which again can often be safe shelter, but it doesn't have to be. I know I mentioned that earlier. It does not have to be safe shelter. If people have been in an abusive relationship and maybe they do have the financial means or the family support to be able to reside safely somewhere else, but they still want that DV support and education with domestic violence support groups or individual counseling for their child, help with a protective order. We're able to offer all of those things, even if people don't live within our building. We also have a substance use treatment program that is for adult women only. They are welcome to bring their kids. Going back to our DV program, we accept men, women, however people identify and however their relationship is that they identify. So whether someone is in a same-sex relationship, a different sex relationship, whether they identify as transgender, their partner is transgender, whatever is the circumstances of their intimate partner violence, we will happily accept them into the domestic violence program. And again, just going back that our substance use treatment is for adult women only. In either program, though, our clients are welcome to bring their children with them. Our dual treatment program is not dual treatment like what you would see at Oaklawn, which would be substance use and mental health. Our dual treatment program is substance use and domestic violence. So often when there's one, there's the other. And so we, a long time ago, I don't know, probably 15 years ago, maybe longer, we decided that it was important to address both at the same time because we saw so many domestic violence clients that needed the substance use treatment aspects. And so many of our substance use treatment clients needed the DV support and education. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we offer children's counseling. So within our youth and family services, if clients are in our building, we do offer childcare as well and other family fun events and activities, partnering with like the library and the parks department and other local entities to try to offer some services so that clients can still participate in fun activities. And we still celebrate like holidays and birthdays, and we try to have as much of a I don't want to say normal because what is normal? There's nothing that's not normal, but just trying to participate in some of those regular activities that families may participate in on their own.
And I want to jump in and say, Pastor Carl talked about the McKinney Vento liaison, Sarah, and last month we partnered with Sarah as well as Mike Brown, who is a local author. He used to be the leprechaun for Notre Dame. And he came in and he did a book signing and read his book to all of our kids. And so, like Karen said, we really want to try to give them opportunities and just really to have and normal's not the word, but just to have a good time while they're here and not really to go through all the trauma over again. I don't know, I'm not getting my words right on that, but just in next month we are doing a book fair for a summer reading challenge. So really just getting the kids involved and knowing that, you know, there's two generations and really focusing on the kids as well as the adults. And I think Karen said this, you know, we are one of the only few substance use treatment facilities that will allow kids to come of any age because we wanted to help take care of the kids as well as the adult client as well.
Aaron, I was wondering about how many unhoused people you see using your services and if there's special challenges when someone is coming off the streets that you have to additionally work with.
I think with that, probably just getting them connected to maybe more resources and someone who was already housed before coming in. I would say probably more often than not, if we're seeing somebody that's unhoused, it's more likely in the substance use treatment program, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen in the domestic violence program as well. There are times that we have people that were living in the car together and they're fleeing that situation, or they were staying in like a tent somewhere together, and while they weren't technically housed, they were unhoused together in the community. And so I think just trying to help them with even more of the resources since they're coming in with even less, that is definitely a barrier. Carl, I know you know that housing's always a problem, always a need. And it does not, being unhoused does not add another barrier as far as being able to access our services. So we would fully welcome someone if it's an abusive relationship that's out in the community, and even if they are unhoused together, we will still have them come in for services. I hope that answered the question. Other services that we offer, Autumn did a tremendous job probably 15 plus years ago, creating the foundation of our financial empowerment and self-sufficiency program. Which has just grown and blossomed and has turned into so much more than probably what she even thought a long time ago, with our Bridges Out of Poverty Getting Ahead, a financial literacy class, some job readiness skills, and those we offer in-house as well as with community partners offsite in both St. Joe and Elkhart County. And we appreciate
Talk a little bit more about Bridges Out of Poverty Care and what the unique format is that you're doing, you and Autumn are doing that with your families.
Yeah, I'm gonna let my expert friend Autumn handle that. Thank you, Carl.
Absolutely. So, Carl, the Bridges Out of Poverty Getting Ahead it is a community initiative to help move individuals from generational or situational poverty into the middle class, really the educational as well as the employment piece. And so the Getting Ahead and just getting by a world class that we facilitate really helps individuals to look at their lives, look at poverty on an individual level, but also a systematic level. And how can you build your resources? How can you build your language, your motivation, your spirituality, in order to be able to move up into the middle class? And so through the class, they look at our community as a whole. They look at the agencies that serve. Are those agencies something that are going to help them get by, or are they going to help them get ahead? Um, so it really is just an investigation, and they set their future stories. We actually always invite community partners in to our Bridges Out of Poverty Getting Ahead class graduation. I know Kayvon just started one in in South Bend. And so she has 7 participants. And so when that graduation comes up, Carl, I will invite you, but also if you can send it out to others, just really to see the program. It is 20 classes, so it is 10 weeks. They do it twice a week. It really is a commitment. We start off with a certain amount of people, so we normally start off about 20 max, but there's always probably about half that drop off because, as we know, individuals who are in poverty, I mean, 20 classes or 10 weeks is a huge commitment. And so the individuals that stick through it, it's huge because they also are looking at their lives. And sometimes when they are in that crisis mode, it's hard to look at themselves. And so we also talk about that theory of change, right? Like, how can you get out of that crisis mode? So that's actually offered in shelter, but also in the community, like Karen said. Right now we have one going on in South Bend at the YWCA because we have childcare, but it's open to outside people. And then we have another one going on at Faith Mission in Elkhart. We've done it with a lot of other people and are just really looking to expand that program as well.
Carl, did you have any questions for Autumn about that?
That's great. I think it's helpful for the community to hear about that. And are you still doing the dual generation, providing some instruction for the kids also to try to break that generational poverty mindset?
So yes, Carl, we actually launched our first one. And so we are doing some behind the scenes right now, critiquing on it. And so we will pilot another one. I don't know exactly when it'll be because it's hard to try to get the kids and the parents together. And so that is something that I'm also working with Sarah on, is being a part of that. Due to helping, our population, which a lot of them are the homeless population or unhoused. So I will have more information to come with that for you, Carl.
So going back to our services, again, just acknowledging that we do offer safe shelter, which, as we mentioned a couple different times, for our clients that are in shelter, we do offer childcare for if they're in their groups or counseling sessions. Also, if they're going to appointments or work or school, we do offer childcare in those circumstances. We also provide meals 7 days a week, as well as additional snacks throughout the week as well for our clients. Clients often come in with minimal to nothing. So if they also need hygiene products, clothes, bedding, toys for their kids, whatever it is that they need, Pampers and wipes, we definitely provide whatever it is that clients need. With our domestic violence program specifically, again, of course, emergency shelter, as I mentioned before, DV support groups, individual counseling, and case management. We have an attorney that can help either attend court with people, potentially even help with the protective orders, depending on the circumstances. We try to help our clients and support them if they happen to have a DCS case, just to help encourage with that compliance, because having DCS involved can be pretty scary for our families sometimes. And so just trying to help encourage our families to comply with whatever the expectations are, knowing that the end result is the reunification or continuing the stability of the family. We also assist with safety planning, and then our DV rep program, we've just added some additional curriculum for recovery, education, and prevention for domestic violence. And then also the empowerment groups and classes. We also offer health and wellness, life skills, parenting, reparenting your inner child, and community meetings, just again to try to build up as many resources for our clients and as much support and information while they're within our shelter. With our substance use and dual treatment programs, those programs run 6 to 8 and 8 to 10 weeks. So our substance use treatment is 6 to 8. Dual treatment, because we have the added component of the domestic violence support and education, is generally 8 to 10 weeks. We offer a year of aftercare, or recommend a year of aftercare after that. Aftercare is a non-residential program, so clients do not live here for that unless they are in our supportive housing program. And on a side note, our substance use treatment and dual treatment are both residential programs. So clients do have to reside here for those aspects of the program, and then aftercare is non-residential. As we both mentioned a few times, we do welcome children into the program with the parents are coming in for substance use treatment and dual. I would say probably more often than not, our substance use client don't bring their kids, either because DCS is already involved and they're not allowed to, or maybe they're from elsewhere in the state. With our substance use and dual treatment program, we can accept an adult female from anywhere in the state of Indiana. With domestic violence, we focus primarily on St. Joe and Elkhart counties, sometimes supporting other local counties. But for our substance use, anybody in the state of Indiana. The substance use treatment groups are 3 groups, 3 times a week for 3 hours. So that's 9 hours of treatment every week. And then the afternoon groups and classes like life skills and health and wellness, parenting, reparenting your inner child. We do have, as we've mentioned, individual counseling. And Tiffany, our DV, director of DV services, she is EMDR trained, and we're hoping to get another 1 or 2 of our counselors trained as well for EMDR.
And I also want to add that for our treatment, we sit on both Elkhart and St. Joe County drug court teams as the clinical support there, as well as at the Juvenile Justice Center, they have a family recovery court with there as well that we are a part of.
With our substance use disorders, they are a family matter. There's nothing about the substance use piece that it's really done in secrecy and privacy. I mean, the person who's using may think that no one knows or no one notices, no one's paying attention, but it definitely impacts so many aspects of the entire family unit. So whenever the family system is able to come in with all the children, we definitely welcome that so that they can hopefully get some support and guidance and education as well. We've talked about meals and childcare. Again, McKinney-Vento Act, we work very well with Sarah as far as being able to get our kids bused to whatever schools they came from so as not to disrupt that part of the child's or children's life. And then also with when we do our assessments for people coming into our substance use program, we offer priority to people who are either pregnant IV drug users or pregnant IV drug users, because those have the increased health risk of either exposing your unborn child to the substances and or the health risk of utilizing needles and how that can cause so many other health issues. So any person that needs that with our substance use treatment program, if they are pregnant or an IV drug user or both, they definitely get priority in coming in. This is just kind of a list of the groups and classes that we talked about earlier, as far as we have health and wellness, parenting, reparenting your inner child, which the purpose of that is to focus on healing those wounds from childhood or healing those wounds that have occurred over time that are continuing to be barriers and challenges and impacting life now. Life skills, we have a lot of community resources and community providers come in to share information so that our clients can leave here with as much community resources and support as we can offer. Community meetings, Autumn already talked about bridges out of poverty, and then also a securing and keeping a job and financial literacy classes. This was some pictures of Tiffany's office, just showing her signs of peace and growth and inclusivity. We do door decorating contests and other art projects just to, again, allow for more of those fun activities that maybe, again, not normal, because nothing, nothing is normal, but just trying to allow clients and their kids to participate in some activities, some creativity. Sometimes we do different contests, like the door decorating activities that I believe Taylor won, that one that's on the left side that has the flowers and the butterflies and everything. That was a fantastic one that she had done previously. Also just showing our dining room and one of our client lounges so people have space to build community within the dining room. Of course, this is opportunity for families to share meals together because maybe at home that isn't something that they were ever able to do. Maybe due to the activities happening in the home, maybe due to the abuser's expectations. But we definitely try to build as much community and as much family as we can for the time that our clients are here. Clients also have access to laundry facilities here, microwave books and other movies and games, coloring books, whatever it is to help keep the families busy and occupied during their time here. And then we also have a wonderful childcare space. This one cute little picture doesn't do justice for our childcare space. But again, we just appreciate the opportunity to be able to support our kids all the way from infants on up with activities and toys. We have sensory activities too for some of our kiddos that maybe have some sensory challenges. And we try to be intentional in the activities that we engage in with them.
And I want to say, if there's any community partners who have not been to the YWCA and you want a tour, you can reach out to me and we can schedule a tour so you can come and actually see the space. I invite people in because when you're talking to clients or people that you are going to refer in, by you having a visualization, you've seen it, and you can sort of let them know that, it's not a scary place. I mean, when people say shelter, before I was ever here, I thought of a room with just a bunch of beds and cots and bunk beds, right? It really is a place of healing and growth. And we really have a big emphasis on trauma-informed care.
And so just our contact information, either the crisis line or our local number. Tiffany's email is on here, which you're welcome to utilize, as well as, of course, Autumn's, who's always in these the meetings that y'all have. Are there any?
Can you give us a sense about the kind of numbers that you have in terms of how many beds you have available, how many people you see in a typical year, and what kind of waiting lists there currently are for people who need these services?
I don't have exact numbers, but let me say that we have 2 shelters. We have our South Bend location, which is right downtown. And we have 60 units here, 60 rooms. Half of those are supportive housing. So when clients, and we didn't talk a lot about supportive housing, but when clients come in for either sexual assault, DV, dual, or treatment, when they're in program for 30 days, if they need a longer time, they can apply for our supportive housing program, which gives victims or individuals in recovery a longer time to be able to stay in shelter. They are required, if they're in recovery, to do aftercare. They do more of those empowerment classes. So half of our units here are supportive housing, and the other half are the crisis rooms. Here, at any given time, I mean, I think right now we have 80 women or clients and children in our shelter in South Bend. Our max capacity is probably about 1 to 125. but we will never turn a victim away. If a person is a victim of domestic violence and we are full, we also have our Elkhart shelter, or we would have them sleep in a lounge until we can find them a shelter to send them to that is in another area. Our Elkhart shelter is 9 rooms. 3 of those are supportive housing out there, which gives the victims a little longer time to be in shelter. Elkhart does not have our treatment program. It is straight DV. Um, and so there, I think there's probably 20 clients and children in there in that shelter, and comfortably they could have about 40, 45-ish in Elkhart's. What was the other part of the question, Carl? I'm sorry. Or did I
What
answer
people
it
do you
all?
see here, both inpatient and outpatient?
So we actually, if they need help with the treatment, if they are seeking treatment, there is a process that I'll let Karen talk about. And so there is a max on the number of treatment clients we bring in. So there is 2 counselors, and they both have between 10 and 15 clients at a time. So when somebody graduates, somebody else will come in. Um,
With our substance use treatment program, we do need to speak with somebody before they come in. So with DV shelter, people can call or show up 24/7, 365 for domestic violence. With substance use treatment, we need to do an assessment over the phone to determine that they're eligible. They would need to either be considered to have a moderate or severe substance use disorder, which we utilize the DSM criteria for substance use disorders, and then we generally put them on a wait list. If someone is the priority of either the pregnant, the IV drug user, or both, generally during that phone call of the assessing of them, we're scheduling their arrival, whether that's same day, next day, within a couple days. If someone does not have the additional high-risk aspects of being pregnant or IV drug users, then they're put on our wait list. Maybe it's a week wait, maybe it's a couple weeks, just kind of depending on the circumstances at the time and our census, etc. However, during that phone call, if we're not able to bring somebody in, we do offer them other additional resources and options. So it's not just, oh, hey, sorry about that, you're on our wait list, we'll talk to you in a few weeks. We're offering them other services, whether it's inpatient or residential substance use services elsewhere, whether someone is interested maybe in getting on some medication assisted treatment to help with alcohol cravings or whatever the situation may be. We're still going to try to offer them some level of services and resources while they're waiting on our availability.
And what about for people with pets who are in a domestic violence situation? Do you have any accommodations in those situations?
So we definitely can take a service animal, but not an emotional support. So the emotional support animals, we work with a local vet. We just can't name who our community partner is, and they actually will board the client, even if it's not an emotional support, right? They just have an animal. Because like Karen said, I mean, it's a reason a lot of people don't leave, is leaving their pets behind. So they can call us or come in, and we will help them get their pet to the vet, and it'll be boarded for the time that they are here in our DV program. And during that time, they do sign something with that facility, just stating that if they need any care or they're not up to date on their shots and things like that, that they do give them permission to take care of those needs for their animal.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Karen and Autumn, for this very informative session about both understanding what domestic violence is, being able to identify the signs and some of the challenges, and the wonderful suite of opportunities and services that you provide there at the YWCA. You've done a great job, and we appreciate the work that you are doing. Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.